student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and she's eager to graduate next year and move back to Chicago. While she happily calls Chicago home now, she originally grew up in Los Angeles. In her free time, she enjoys walking her dog around the city, discovering new music, and watching 80s movies. Please put your hands together for Shayna Rosenthal!
Cubsessed, the term my dad has used for years regarding my somewhat unhealthy obsession with the Chicago Cubs. Pretty interesting for a girl who spent the first 18 years of her life in Los Angeles, I'd say. Well, it all started in the beginning of 6th grade when I had a major crush on a boy who played baseball and was a diehard Angels fan. I was intrigued, especially because most people where we grew up were big Dodger fans. All I wanted to do was be able to impress him with my baseball knowledge. Now, I'd grown up playing softball and gone to a few Dodger games a year, but my knowledge at the time was relatively surface level. I came home from school and asked my dad to teach me everything he could about baseball. He was thrilled, and the education regarding the terminology and skills associated with America's pastime began. Now, while 11-year-old me was obsessed with the baseball boy at school, I had found an additional baseball player to ooh and ah over, the one and only Chris Bryant. It was 2015, and I exited my room one day to find my dad watching the Cubs game. He nor family were Cubs fans, but I was procrastinating very difficult 6th grade level homework and decided to sit down with him to watch the game. And then it was like time paused as I watched Chris Bryant step into the batter's box. The most gorgeous man I had ever seen was suddenly in HD on my very own TV screen. I turned to my dad to inquire about who this man could be and learned his name was Chris Bryant, he was a rookie, and rumored to be the next best thing in baseball. And with that moment, I became Cubsessed. I had my dad teach me everything he could about the Cubs, their history, and about Wrigley Field itself. I spent my free time doing research of my own and quickly began to impress the boy at school. But truly, it was the atmosphere of Wrigley Field, the fans packing the ballpark on a chilly September Tuesday night, the singing of Go Cubs Go and flying of the W flags, the drone shots of Clark Street after a Cubs win. I was entranced. Now, 2015 is a pretty unique time to become a Cubs fan. And as odd as it may sound, I promise it was not a bandwagon situation. The offseason quickly came and I was itching for the 2016 season to start. I quite literally had a countdown going on the whiteboard in my room, waiting for opening day. Well, we all know that the 2016 World Series championship ended the 108-year drought on a Wednesday in Cleveland after 17 minutes of rain. That year, Chris Bryant went on to win the National League MVP, and all was right in the world. Except one thing, I wasn't in Chicago. My dad, being the ultimate girl dad that he is, booked a trip for us to visit Chicago over July 4th in 2017. The city was still buzzing with excitement just a few months after the World Series win. Seeing the Red Line packed with fans ready to root on their favorite team was quite the sight. A few games and concerts at Wrigley Field later, I just loved this city. Itching to come back, we returned for more Cubs games in 2019 and 2021. Over these few years, my knowledge truly expanded from just the Cubs to the entire sport itself. From learning advanced statistics, to random facts about obscure players from decades ago, to calling pitches and plays as if I were the manager, I was all in. Since then, I have made it a goal to visit all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums by the time I'm 30. I'm currently 21 years old and just crossed off my 21st ballpark. So I'd say I'm on a pretty good pace. It truly has become all-consuming to the point where I'm often called a baseball encyclopedia, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Fast forward a bit. My dad and his girlfriend were always planning on leaving Los Angeles when I graduated high school. And what a surprise, they picked Chicago. We moved here in the summer of 2022, and I had a little trick up my sleeve. The month before we moved, I signed my dad up without his knowledge for the Chicago Cubs full season ticket holder waitlist. He was number 53,171 at the time I signed him up, and here I was thinking maybe by the time I have kids, we'd have a chance at purchasing season tickets. Well, 16 months later, he was offered an opportunity to buy season tickets, and there may have been some hemming and hawing, and okay, fine, maybe I begged, but my efforts paid off, and we've been Chicago Cubs full season ticket holders for the last 2 seasons. Now, I can no longer play softball due to several knee surgeries, but I can truly say that my love for baseball somewhat fills that void of still wanting to be able to play the sport that I love. Plus, I'm not gonna lie, I really like being the girl no one expects to know this much about sports. While baseball is certainly my forte, I have a pretty solid foundation of all major sports, especially all Chicago sports. And I can often be found wearing my Chicago sports team's gear around my college town in Wisconsin, brave, I know. And I've been stopped multiple times by guys who ask me if I can even name 5 baseball players. My favorite response to this interaction is, how about I just name the starting 9 on your favorite team? The look on their face when I can name everyone off the top of my head is priceless and oddly satisfying, especially when they're a Brewers fan. In addition to my annual trips with my dad to cross off more stadiums, I also play fantasy baseball with all of his friends. So I'm the 21-year-old girl playing with a bunch of middle-aged dads. And I love it. It's one of my favorite things, but also one of the main determinants of my anxiety levels every summer. And each year, I attempt to draft as many Cubs players as possible, so my vested interest in their success essentially doubles. When I'm not at a Cubs game, I can often be found standing just a few inches away from my TV, watching the at-bat of a Cubs player who's also on my fantasy team. Maybe I should stop drafting them. While most of the baseball season takes place during my summer break months, there are a couple months that overlap with me still being in school. And while I truly promise I take my studies very seriously, my fandom is just as important to me, and I always try to schedule my studying around whatever time the Cubs game is at that day. And one time, one of my friends asked me if we could study together on a random day in March. I was like, yeah, totally, like that works, but I'll need to take a break at 3 p.m. because that's when the Cubs spring training game is on. She looked at me like I was insane and asked me why I had to watch a game that, quote, didn't even matter. It took everything in me to not explain to her that I have to watch the spring training game because I need to see how the minor league players are doing to see if they're almost ready to come up to the major leagues. Now she and most of my friends understand that if a Cubs game is on, I am very much occupied. When I am home, I try to go to as many Cubs games as humanly possible. Living just a mile from Wrigley Field is magical, and the walks to and from the ballpark are some of my favorite things about living in Chicago. This season alone, I have been to 19 Cubs home games, and yet no matter how many times I walk up those stairs and see Wrigley Field, I am overwhelmed with pure joy and happiness. Some people call Disneyland the happiest place on earth, but for me, the answer is definitely Wrigley Field. Any true fan knows the ups and downs of being a Cubs fan, but my love for this team this year and for the last 10 years has never wavered. Through the trades, missing the playoffs, and more, my greatest love in life has been baseball and the Chicago Cubs. And I can't help but wonder, what would my life look like and where would I be living if it wasn't for the baseball boy in middle school and Chris Bryant's undeniably good looks? Thank you.